Hi, Udo. Thank you for spending some time with us at SUSECON. And Udo, could you tell us a bit about your role at Fujitsu?
Yeah, of course. And thank you, Sheng, for the invitation. And it's really great to be here at SUSECON. So my role at Fujitsu, I'm the Deputy Chief Data Officer for products in Europe. And now I'm 7 years with Fujitsu. I started in the software-defined data center business 7 years ago with all those virtualized environments and of course with SUSE technology. And then later on, I was involved in all of the AI activities that Fujitsu has started. And this is still my business today. And all the technologies that are needed for doing AI stuff like the Kubernetes, right? So containerized environments and making sure we are bringing AI projects to life on customer side. Before I joined Fujitsu, I was a CIO for 17 years in the retail business and running data centers. So I would say I was doing close to everything in the business, right?
Wow, very cool. We know that Fujitsu has been working with customers on a data-driven transformation strategy. Could you tell me what data-driven transformation strategy is?
Sure thing. So the data-driven transformation strategy, short DDTS, is a new kind of approach how we are doing projects with customers and how do we making use out of the data on customer side. So I give you an example. So over the last years, everything was about infrastructure, right? So infrastructure and the services on top. Now we are facing additional aspects such as consulting, integration, but also financial services. So when it comes to consulting, customers very often have the challenge that they must make something new. They have to bring new services on the table. They have to bring new portfolio elements to their customers, making sure they are still competitive. And therefore, we have a consulting approach, even for customers which have some ideas what they can do, but they have not a specific portfolio element identified. And this is where we have a new process which is called co-creation. It's not a workshop, it's a kind of moderated process. And this really works. It brings really ideas from customers to life. And so that we have a clear understanding what should be the next steps to go ahead and making sure those ideas are becoming true, are becoming a portfolio element or becoming an additional services for their customers. And then, of course, you need integration. So once the idea is done, you must integrate the idea. And on one hand, we have a huge amount of internal resources. And that's great. On the other hand, we have created an ecosystem of partners over the last 1.5 years. And those partners, they have contracts and NDAs, etc. Everything is in place. And so we can order a partner like we are ordering a hard disk drive as an example, and they can do the projects. They can really bring their skills to the market, and this makes the life much easier and bringing the projects much faster on stage, so to speak. So in the European Union, we have seen there is a lack of staff and skills. So over the last years, we now see that 500,000 specialists in the IT, but also in the communication business are not available, right? We have a shortage of specialists. At the same point in time, we see a transformation of other industries. Think about the automotive industry, where you now have the challenge of self-driving cars as an example, the autonomous vehicles. When you think about the electric vehicles, everything is now software defined, and those companies, they are searching for those specialists, and this brings the market under pressure. Therefore, we have created this ecosystem, and this allows us really to bring specialists to customers, making sure we can really go ahead with the projects. At the same point in time, we are facing competition from the public cloud. And this is not always competition because we also have public cloud offerings, but when we have a look on the costs for customers, especially in environments such as AI, and when we think with SUSE Ranger, with those containerized environments, which are very great for AI as an example, then it could be very expensive to do everything in the cloud. And therefore, we have financial solutions in place, making sure customers can consume SUSE Ranger solutions like a public cloud, but everything is in their own data center. And they can have hybrid scenarios, of course, but they can have it on-prem, they can have it in a co-location, and they don't have to own the hardware. They are just paying for what they are using, right? Capacity or compute power or maintenance fee or service or whatever is necessary to keep the infrastructure up and running. And this is a real pay-per-use model that we have created for customers. This was invented for the DDTS approach and is a very successful model, by the way. So customers are fearing the costs when it comes to changes in the infrastructure, when it comes to starting into the journey of AI with an unpredictable amount of cards that you need or the pool for data that you need and so on. And this is exactly what we are covering with the pay-per-use model, and this works very nice. So that's in short the DDTS approach that we have created over the last years, and we are very successful in this respect.
Thank you, Udo, for explaining to us what DDTS is. So in your experience working with customers, defining and implementing their DDTS, what challenges have you seen those customers face?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So first of all, when we're talking about DDTS, the focus has changed how we are talking to customers. Where's the level of decision makers, as an example, where we have to talk to. So as an example, in the past, we were talking about infrastructure and services, and this is the hot topic for data center operations, for the managers who are responsible for the data center, making sure the business is running on a day-per-day basis. Now with DDTS, we are talking about an enhancement of the original business, what the customer is doing. When we are talking about a customer who is producing machines and we are talking about predictive maintenance, then then we have to talk about how we can improve the machines, how predictive maintenance can bring value to them for selling the machines, as an example. And this is a topic for the C-level, for the decision makers. So because it's affecting their original business, and this will now be enhanced with IT in this respect. And this is, of course, a completely different approach. This is a completely different focus. At the same point in time, we see that customers are really searching for those type of add-ons because the market is very competitive. When you think about also here the automotive sector with different car vendors, which are now coming up on the market from Far East, but also from US, from Germany, and so on. So it's very disruptive, let's call it like this, right? So with a new technology, you can be very disruptive in well-established markets, and all of a sudden you are the new champion, and the existing ones, they would like to prevent this. And therefore they have to enhance their existing products and solutions and services and whatever they bring to customers. So this is one thing. At the same point in time, when we are talking about challenges, there was a nice survey of Lünendonk Consulting, and it was the question, where are the hurdles when it comes to the adoption of data in this respect in terms of AI? AI is a hot topic, as you know, when you switch on your TV, when you do a picture with your smartphone, when you talk to your car, everything is based on AI. There's AI everywhere in the background, search engine optimization, and so on and so forth. So this said, 40% of the customers were asking, what's the right infrastructure? This is remarkable. I mean, you would think cloud is the answer for everything, but it isn't. So we see very often that it's very expensive if you do AI workloads in the cloud, and therefore customers are searching for solutions, having them on site in their own data center, but also maybe in a hybrid solution, of course, but also in co-location. And this is exactly what we are targeting for with SUSE Ranger, where we have solutions such as Kubeflow on top, as an example, right, to do AI trainings and building the infrastructure for customers. Then we are talking about budgets. In the beginning, I was talking about pay-per-use model. This is exactly where we can serve budget concerns with a pay-per-use model. We are talking about organization changes, but also the change in terms of data culture. So data culture means that you see the company as a whole bucket collecting data from everywhere, and you think about what you can do with the data of the overall company so that you really have have all the capabilities in place that you can bring additional services on stage by making use out of this data, not thinking in single silos, not thinking in single applications, thinking in company-wide data collection and making use out of the data. And then, of course, we are talking about the specialists. As I also said in the beginning, 500,000 specialists are not available on the market. So 60% of the asked companies are saying, well, we don't have the specialist in place. This is the answer that we have with the DDTS ecosystem. But data, 70% said data is a big problem. And when we look into this, then we see a wide range of challenges customers are facing in terms of the adoption for AI and making use out of data. On one hand, we have master data, very often in a poor quality, where you have to spend efforts to make it really available. On the other hand, we see data from social media where you have those fake blogs, fake news, and you can't use it, right? So you are starting into a nightmare of a project and it takes a very long time. And all of a sudden, the CFO will tell you there is no money more available because after 1 year doing some optimization and no results, they will stop the project. And this is exactly what you have to avoid. And the good news is that you have low-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruits are transaction data, sensor data, log file data, data which is generated automatically. And this is exactly what we are using. So where we have customers such as BBVA as an example, the bank in Spain, and we are doing a prediction of an upcoming failure of an ATM machine. And we have won this RFP, by the way, also against huge companies that you might have in mind from US, Big Cloud, etc., because we were able to connect the process which is needed to repair all of those ATM machines upfront before the outtake will occur. This whole process is completely implemented in the Fujitsu predictive maintenance solutions. We have a very high prediction level, 98%. And we are connecting the technicians and they are repairing the ATM machines up front, and the customers can really enhance now their services for their customers, and they are very happy. Another customer, a major Russian energy company, they are doing predictive maintenance as an example for gas turbines in power plants. Same software, different approach, different trained AI model, and you see how flexible this is. And those are just two examples of a lot that we have. So those are the challenges that we are facing, and this is where we are talking to customers on a daily basis.
Thank you, Udo, for sharing that. And you mentioned, your customers are using Kubernetes to run AI software like Kubeflow. That makes a lot of sense. Could you elaborate just a little bit more on the role products like SUSE Ranger would play in your DDS journey?
Yeah. So to be honest, it plays the most major role. So when we were starting with Ranger, and this was, I think, 2020 or so, when we were really going full steam into it, I was in sessions where we had investigations into the technology, into Kubeflow on top, etc. And when the merger came with SUSE and Ranger in, I think it was December, right, 2020. So this was great. This was a great message and it was a great fit. And you have maybe seen that Fujitsu was going into this full steam. We have trained a 3-digit number of specialists, really making sure we have all the knowledge in place for our customers. And as far as I know, we are the vendor which have trained the most specialists on the market. So we are really able to do the projects with customers and having the specialists in place. And it doesn't matter, is this the specialists for integration, the sales guys, the pre-sales guys, consulting guys, the account managers. We all have them in place and we are really able to do the projects. And the good news is we have a project. We have projects in a significant number. It's a 2-digit number and we made it in just a few months. And it's not only leads or an opportunity, it's real existing projects where we have done the integration, where we are still in the phase of doing the integration, or where we are doing POC installation as an example. So this brings really value to customers. And I have never seen a product which was starting like a rocket like this, right? And this shows really exactly how the partnership with SUSE and Fujitsu really has worked out. I think we had one of the significant growth in business over the last years. So I think this was an enormous great year that we have done together with Ranger, with the SUSE products, with the services on top of the integrations on customer side. And we are already working on success stories with customers. So it will be seen over the next weeks that we will have some white papers available where customers are telling how the solution was implemented, where are the challenges and hurdles, how they jumped over, and how successful the product is. And this is really great. I mean, Ranger is a great solution when we think about core, when we think about cloud, when we think about edge. And we are adding additional security layers on top, which is, especially when you think about edge, so important, right? So the edge in the past was an unsecure place, but now we are facing that we have to handle the data at the edge. The amount of data is growing significantly, and we have to operate and also training models and so on with data at the edge. And therefore, edge is becoming a very critical element when it comes to security. And this is exactly what we are targeting for also with Ranger solutions. And you can manage all those Kubernetes clusters on a global base. There is, so to speak, no limitations. So this is really great. And please stand by. There will be success stories over the next weeks, and we are happy to share them.
Thank you, Udo, for sharing all this promising deals that's happening with Ranger and Fujitsu. Can you just give us a little bit more preview about some of the use cases you're seeing with customers?
Yes, of course. So on one hand, we have the public sector. So we have a very, very huge customer in the public sector in Europe, where we are now implementing Ranger, and it's already up and running. So we are working now really on the finalization of the project and also on the success stories. Another customer in the public sector, but also one customer from the industry. And the customer is producing machines capable to fill up all those little bottles in terms of the vaccine for COVID-19. And the customer has changed the production of these machines. As you can imagine, the demand is so high, they have to produce the machines on 24-hour basis. They have DevOps in place. The IT never stops. The software development never stops. The updates never stops. So therefore, they have the demand for Ranger. And this is exactly what we are now implementing at this customer. It looks very promising. And we are also working here on the success story. And this will also come up over the next weeks.
Oh, thank you, Udo, for sharing that. It's so exciting to see SUSE Ranger and Fujitsu playing a role fighting the pandemic. Really look forward to hearing more. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Sheng. And again, thank you for the invitation. It was really a pleasure to be here.